Hey everybody, how you guys doing? If I blink, I feel like I got something in my eyes. There's like a film, but anyway, I wanted to come in here today and actually talk a little bit about, like the title says, essential oils and oily skin and hair. It actually came to me because of a question that was posed. And before I go any further, please, if you have any particular questions about oils, it doesn't mean, I love doing Q&A. Love doing Q&A. So if you have a question for me about, even if you think it's simple and basic, I welcome them, because I'm not just going to give you oil suggestions, although I'm going to provide oil ideas for today. I'm going to explain why, because the why to me is really the most important piece, because then it kind of like sets it in as to, hey, yeah, this is actually something I want to implement. And although we look at oils as a natural remedy and we consider them holistic, right, because they're natural, holistic to me means you work with the entire system. You don't just focus on a specific issue. You don't target something specific, because that's really the same thing as conventional medicine. That's what drugs are doing. They have a very specific target. And in fact, yesterday I went live on Facebook and I talked about the placebo effect, which is real. It's a real thing, you guys. It's we just kind of chalk it off to pseudoscience, fake, right? But let's be realistic here. If you get a benefit from something and you want to say it's all in your head, you're right. It is. It's the brain. That's the power of the mind. That is the power of the mind. And so the placebo effect is real, yet it's almost impossible to get it given the dynamic of stress. And that's really what it comes down to when I talk about oily skin, acne, and hair. It is a mechanism it's the result of an active stress system. And so part of what I want to underscore here is what the stress system really is. And it's not just related to emotional distress. We have to look at the stress system as something that's fundamentally important to our survival. So when we go into puberty, it is an activation. I mean, technically, the way this actually occurred to me this morning, the stress system is, it's an aging process. It is absolutely related to the aging process. So the second we're born, our body is aging and it's growing, right? So initially, within the first 21 years of our life, it's growing. And so the stress system is being utilized to produce sex hormones, tissue development, meaning bone and blood and so forth. So there's always an activation of the stress system happening. We can't eliminate that. We don't want to eliminate that because it's important to our survival. But this is the reason why I am believing that we're seeing a hastening of the aging process, because there's an overactivation of this system. And the overactivation of this system leads to early gray hair, okay, faster drying, our skin drying out faster, or earlier, I'll say that, lower testosterone levels. So all of this is part of the stress system that is overactive. And essentially the body is it's on overdrive. It's on hyper alert. High alert is what the body is at right now. So when we have oily skin and oily hair, it's something that we're familiar with from puberty. And when we get to adult age, we think, well, now I shouldn't be having this. But if you do, look at it this way. It is the hormonal system that has been disrupted. And essential oils are, I'm really very excited about this. I have to tell you, I'm currently organizing some talks with some really top aromatherapy, phytomedicine people, nurses, doctors from around the world that incorporate oils into their practices and speak heavily on the need to include oils in our medical practices. So I'm just so super amped to be doing this, and I can hardly wait to tell you when they're going to be organized and finalized and ready to observe, because it's going to be free. It's a free virtual event. So that said, the inclusion of oils is absolutely necessary because they are signaling molecules. They are metabolites from plants, and I've talked about this countless times. And pardon me, I don't mean to be rude when I say that, but I don't mind saying it over and over again because here we go again. Um, it's because they're signaling molecules. This is how plants protect themselves. I remember being on the radio a few years back and stating that, if a plant becomes threatened or a tree becomes threatened by an animal or a microbe or a fungus or what have you, the plant and the tree can't run away. It has to defend itself in another way, and that would be the oxidative stress, because the second the plant becomes threatened, it alters its system, and then it begins to produce chemicals that are either toxic or as a repellent to keep the animal, the insect, the microbe, and so forth away. So for that reason, they're very instrumental in helping to combat the stress in our system. It's kind of like that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So here we have an action of the plant that helps to create the opposite reaction within the human being. It's just magnificent. So when we're looking at oily skin, acne, oily hair, you won't even look at it as even in our young people, because excessive oiliness is related to acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is the primary neurotransmitter, aka as also known as a hormone, that activates the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is what actually helps to regulate our blood pressure, our digestion, all respiration, all of that. Okay, well, acetylcholine is also necessary for skin moistening of the eyes, keeping our skin soft and supple. It actually is responsible for producing the sebum, which is, in our hair. It's all on our skin. So that said, if the stress system is activated because of necessary hormonal changes, I don't know why it keeps fading out like that. When it's deactivated, pardon me, I get thrown off in the screen again. It blacks out on me like that. So that said, acetylcholine is used in these examples when puberty hits and hormonal changes occur. We can see the activation of acetylcholine, and then it begins to either become, and then again, it's hard to predict how it's going to go for any one person. Now, I did see a question the other day that came up around somebody using a diffuser, and they broke out with acne. They'd never used a diffuser or oils before. They ran the diffuser for 2 days, I think they said, straight, and then broke out in a full-on acne. Now, she said that she's had a history of acne issues and that she had it under control with her physician, and so she was alarmed that this actually occurred. So my explanation to her was that she was actually detoxing. She's not allergic to the oils. There's a significant difference, and I think it's really time to reframe that idea. An allergy, you might say you're sensitive to it, but look, the body actually detoxes itself in a number of ways, and one of them is through the skin. And she's already established a history of detoxing through the skin, hence the acne. Somebody said to me, well, that's, bacteria. Well, yeah, that's exactly. The body's trying to push things out, and in some cases it turns to acne. And if you're prone to heavy amounts of acne, and this is what your body is used to doing, it's a good sign, because what happens with an active stress system is that the lymph system is stagnated. This is another reason why physical movement is important, and massage, because it keeps the lymph system functioning properly and helps to move things out. But you also want to protect the kidneys as it's beginning to flush. This is the reason for drinking plenty of water. So my suggestion to her was to actually stop using everything that she had been for about 7 to 10 days and giving her body a chance to settle back down, and then reintroducing oils in smaller amounts so that she could acclimate herself. And I gave her suggestions on what oils to use regarding helping digestion and lymph and kidneys. Those oils that I recommended for her were laurel leaf, cypress, goldenrod, and oh gosh, I can't remember the other one. can't remember the other one. Forgive me, it's been a couple of days since I made that suggestion, but at least, like I said, with the laurel leaf and the goldenrod and the cypress, you now I know what it was. It was rosemary. Rosemary, because rosemary is really good for the digestion, and if she uses it on the skin, then it'll actually rosemary verbone to be specific, and to use it on the skin will actually help clear up the skin or keep the skin clear, and but it also protects the or works with the lymph system, the kidneys, the liver, as well as the digestive system. So that's what I recommended for a heavy case of acne. Now, another suggestion or another list of blends is something I posted in the blog that I wrote yesterday regarding oils and sebum in the hair, or excessive oily hair, which was cedarwood. I think I'm looking at my cedarwood atlas, because it's high in a constituent called hemicaline, and hemicaline is an astringent, so it'll actually help keep the skin and the hair. It'll actually help the body better utilize that now, or keep the oil from building up on the skin. Like I said, it's an astringent. I also included the rosemary verbone on that one too, for the very reasons I've already explained. Plus, it contains alpha-pinene, which helps to helps to regulate acetylcholine. And this goes back into what I was saying yesterday with regards to this. I mentioned this because I don't recommend the targeted use of essential oils, like I was saying. So if we're looking at trying to deactivate or slow down the stress system, using oils strictly high in one constituent, or limiting our use to all oils that are high in one constituent, in this case alpha-pinene, it is the same thing as targeting a very specific neurotransmitter. And that's the last thing we want to be doing. It's another example of conventional medicine. So you want to pair your oils that have a variety of constituents. So in this case, the hemicaline and the cedarwood atlas with the alpha-pinene and the rosemary helps to relieve the stress reaction, helps to provide a fuller use of acetylcholine, and provides it in the digestive system, as well as a more appropriate use for keeping the body moist, but not excessively so. There again, with the rosemary, it's also supporting the digestive system. The next oil I recommended was myrtle. And the myrtle has, it's a CNO, chemotype 1,8 CNO is in it, and that's a eucalyptol that's found in eucalyptus. But the myrtle itself is very, very, the synergy, or the synergistic value of the constituents rather, is very instrumental in supporting the hormonal system. And there again, that's what oily skin, oily hair, that's all this is a hormonal instability. And this is another reason why the placebo effect, or taking things just because we like the way they smell, isn't really instrumental long term, because until we become emotionally resilient and very stable on the inside, we have this excessively active system. And so therefore, and I'll just say a little bit more about the placebo effect here in a minute. I want to finish with the oils. But so therefore now you have the cedarwood atlas with the hemicaline in it. And keep in mind there are other constituents, but that's the one I'm looking at right now because of its astringent use or benefits. Then there's the rosemary verbone for its alpha-pinene content. Then there's the myrtle, the chemotype CNO, so that's the highest constituent or percentage of constituent in that one is the 1,8 CNO. That is a sedative, so it's going to be very calming, and you don't want to mix that with any kind of central nervous system depressant. You'll be the additive effect for that is pronounced. I'm just going to put it that way. And if you don't know what I mean by that, let me know. And then there's ylang. Ylang complete. There's different forms of ylang. And so the ylang complete is very high, and a constituent called germacrine D. And germacrine D is very important. It supports the use of cholesterol and the production of steroidal hormones in a more efficient manner. And so I don't recommend using ylang ylang complete if you take a blood pressure medication, because there again, or if you're going to use it with a blood pressure medication, my suggestion to you would be to monitor your blood pressure and just keep note of it. I mean, make sure that you track it at the same time every day. And then if you start to notice that your blood pressure begins to drop, or you notice a quick drop in it, contact your physician and get permission to at least back off to half of that, just so you know, or to see what their recommendations are, because the oil and this is the reason why working with and doing lunch and learns with health professionals is really very important to me, because I really am interested in helping them to understand the correlation between these two. And that's another reason why I'm bringing in these top note speakers to kind of introduce underscore everything that I'm saying here, is how I want to say that. So but as far as the placebo effect is concerned, like I said, it is real. It is part of, it is true science, because clearly if we can think something is helping us and they're showing it. I have a study that if you want to see it, I'm happy to share it with you. I found it, it's, oh gosh, I forget what journal it was coming out of, but they were able to find that they were, through placebos, were able to improve the production of opiates in the system, that the body was actually increasing opiate levels in order to decrease the pain the level of pain experienced by people with depression, actually manic depressive disorder. And what they found was that it actually boosted their immune resilience, and they were less vulnerable to other diseases, and it increased the benefit of their antidepressants. So there's true value to the placebo effect. Again, though, if we don't have a stabilized mental and emotional state, and of course there's the compounding issues with the environment, until we can and there again, I was telling somebody this morning, so yes, emotional resilience is really good. It's really beneficial if we can maintain our internal dialogue to be solid. At the same time, incorporating essential oils every single day. Contacting these speakers has been so exciting for me, because I just feel I'm just thrilled to be engaged in conversation with people. It's been a few years since I've been around them, and it's just fun to be talking with them again, because this work is valid, and the use of oils, it's not just in a medical situation, it's an everyday situation. And the more we use oils on an everyday situation, as I said, they are signaling molecules that provide our system with stability. They actually are able to communicate with the DNA and support DNA. Certain constituents are, and really fundamentally improve the body's response to mind, emotion, environment, and so forth. So I do advocate for their use every single day. I do recommend those blends that I mentioned here for the acne, as well as the oily skin and hair. And if you have any questions about anything, by all means, let me know. Beginning next week, you can go onto Facebook. I have a group called Revolutionary Aromatherapy. Request to join, because beginning next week, starting February 1st, I'm going to start talking about one constituent a week. You know, like today I mentioned several different constituents. So I'm going to be going over each constituent and looking to field questions about, because keep in mind, just because, let's just go back to the example of alpha pinene, which I think that's going to be the constituent for next week. There's a number of oils that have alpha pinene in it, but not all the oils that have alpha pinene in it are going to have the same effect on the body. It's the synergistic value that's most important. So in the case of my recommending rosemary for oily skin and hair, it's, and in acne, or let me go back and say rosemary verbone. I need to make sure that I clarify which oil I'm talking about, because there's different types of oils. There's different types of rosemaries. I even wrote a piece on that the other day with regards to suppliers and why we need to know what's in the bottle. So another topic. But the rosemary verbone is very, very good for the skin. The synergistic value of that oil promotes healthy skin, as well as promotes a better use of acetylcholine throughout the system and improving digestion. So it's the synergistic value, but I want to begin to at least begin to take a look at these constituents and what science knows that impact they have on the body, and then from there go into questions and learning how to pick an oil, like say, that's high in alpha pinene for a particular health issue, and really kind of giving you some real-time guidance. So again, that's in Revolutionary Aromatherapy. It's a Facebook group, and I'd love for you to join me over there. Just request to join, and we can begin talking about things in that group, and we won't bore the rest. Anyway, thanks for watching. You guys have a great day wherever you are, and until I see you again, be well.